Ethan's curiosity lured him to an abandoned house where a seemingly dormant nest pulsed with ominous energy. One innocent touch unleashed a monstrous swarm, igniting chaos in the quiet neighborhood. What had he awakened? The peaceful town would soon face a terrifying threat, far beyond imagination. Ethan displayed a striking fascination for insects from a young age, much to his mother's dismay, given her aversion to bugs in her home. Instead of rejecting his passions, they compromised, starting with enclosed, framed insects. Ethan delighted in his collection of exotic butterflies and grasshoppers, but this was merely the beginning. Soon Ethan's mother, Eva, would face a home overrun by insects. What began as a contained collection soon proved insufficient to satisfy her son's budding interest. An ant farm found its place in his room, followed by a terrarium housing stick insects. Ethan yearned for a tarantula. However, this was where Eva drew the line. They were her one fear. Ethan respected this and never let it hinder his exploration of prohibited insects outside of his home. He frequently boasted a friendship with the spiders around his residence, claiming they were the guardians of his home, protecting him and his family from all other despised bugs. Eva had previously accepted it, but made sure he pledged never to disrupt a nest. Ethan had reluctantly taken this vow, even though he had never encountered a nest before, and thought it would be fascinating if he did. He had tried uncovering a bee nest in the past, but was unsuccessful. Ethan enjoyed spending time outdoors, but he strayed somewhat off course today. Both his parents and he were oblivious to the pledge he was about to shatter. Ethan had always found his way home, which made him an excellent explorer. He had not come across this in his whole journey through the forest, shackled in his backyard. Not too far from him was a house. The house was unlit. The wood seemed decaying, but he still strayed closer. There was something he spotted on one of the house's walls that he had not seen before. As he came closer, he noticed small bugs resting on it, which he identified as mosquitoes. This must be their nest, he thought. Ethan wasn't aware of what kind of bugs resided in the nest. He examined it, hearing the hum of the bugs from within. The thrill made him tremble. He momentarily reached out to feel the nest. However, he hesitated, recalling his mother's admonishment. His thought process was swayed by her absence, and the assumption that she would never know if he touched the nest. He recoiled with shock evident on his face as the humming sound intensified. An enormous swarm of insects burst out from an opening at the bottom of the nest. Ethan had no clue about what was happening. He didn't recognize these creatures. He was convinced they were neither mosquitoes nor any species he recognized. He tried not to scream as they charged towards him. He swiftly turned around and started running away from the house. He blamed himself for ignoring his mother's advice and wished he had heeded her words instead of letting his curiosity rule him. Ethan saw his home and frightfully stumbled through the front door. His parents were taken aback to see their son sobbing, unaware of the reasons. His mother, Eva, immediately went over to him to assure him that he was not hurt. "I'm sorry, Mama," blurted Ethan as he leaned into her arms and wept. His mother assumed that he was sobbing from running into the door, but the tears were due to what he had experienced. "I disturbed a nest, Mama. I'm really sorry. We need to reach out to someone," he stuttered between sobs. The insects weren't typical in any sense. Eva worriedly glanced at her spouse. What had Ethan found in the woods nearby? Comforting her child first, she swiftly grabbed her telephone and contacted local animal and pest control services. "Hello," she began when her call was answered. "This is Eva speaking. My kid discovered an odd hatching site, and we'd like your assistance to remove it." But the reality of the situation soon proved far more alarming than anticipated for the professionals briefed on it. The rising sun lit up the area while Dr. Jacqueline Turner, accompanied by her crew, climbed out from their vehicle, carefully readying their gear. Shielding her eyes behind her spectacles, Dr. Turner gazed at the hatching site, a doubt-filled frown settling on her forehead. "It could simply be an uncommon mosquito breed," she proposed to a team member, fairly sure that the alarm might be unreasonably heightened. Suppressing his own nerves, Ethan guided Dr. Turner, his voice wavering but resolute. "This way, Dr. Turner," he directed, signaling towards the deserted home. As they reached the spot, the entire team gathered around the hatching site, Gravely serious, Dr. Turner spoke to Ethan's family. "Eva, the finding your son has made is graver than we initially believed," she intimated with precise wording, asking them to stay alert and update them on any peculiar occurrences or sightings. Under Dr. Turner's guidance, Ethan's family responded promptly. They secured the entrances, installed bug catchers, and even positioned a minor monitoring network around their home's perimeter. Both the nearby coffee shop and grocery stores buzzed with gossip about the strange find at the Miller's residence. "Did you catch the tale of the odd hatching site Ethan discovered?" One of the locals wondered aloud. Her interest piqued. As time passed, the account, each iteration growing more dramatic than the last, made its wavy journey through whispers and ears, causing a mix of fascination and worry throughout the town. As the story propagated, Mr. Thompson, a senior townsman, shared a matching experience involving his tool shed. Another local, Mrs. Rodriguez, recounted an instance of peculiar bugs in her backyard. Clearly, the Millers weren't the sole victims of this unsettling event, and related stories began to increase. Seeing the gravity of this crisis, Mayor Williams planned an emergency meeting at the town hall. Alerts were sent, updates were aired, and within no time, the community center was packed to its maximum capacity. What was crystal clear in the ensuing days was the unity this event sparked in the entire town. Residents aided others in reinforcing their homes, youngsters initiated awareness programs, and neighborhood businesses offered provisions. Innovative deterrents, a blend of age-old recipes and modern know-how, were sprayed. Drones wafted high above, surveying and combating swarms from the sky. Each strategy was a beacon of hope and a tribute to the town's relentless tenacity. As weeks passed, a pattern emerged. The larkspur blossom, a local plant seen in gardens and woods, appeared incredibly attractive to the insects. "Has anyone else seen that they're always near these flowers?" asked Mrs. Harris, gesturing toward the purple-tinged plants in her garden, buzzing with the critters. Watchful eyes around town began to concur. Soon, harrowing images were shared: cattle riddled with bumps, drained livestock, and shockingly, several children presented large, inflamed marks after unwittingly wandering too close to the insect masses. Local businesses suffered as visitors kept a wide berth. Plants stood stripped bare, with hard-working farmers facing hardship and plunging commerce. "Our means of survival, our children's prospects, absolutely everything's at risk," Mr. Lewis, the town's butcher, declared at a gathering. In a last resort effort to reverse their fortunes, botanists and entomologists poured into the town, cooperating with the locals. The larkspur blossom was zoomed in on. Squads roved into the woods, studying vegetation and earth, trying to decode the plant-insect link. "There's a piece of the puzzle here, something we're overlooking," speculated Dr. Patel, studying a larkspur through a magnifying lens. The detailed analysis uncovered a shocking truth. The larkspur blossom produced a unique scent, akin to a pheromone. Not only did it lure the insects, but it appeared vital for their propagation. "It's akin to their lifeline," Dr. Torres articulated to the town, displaying a vial of the potent liquid. A collective realization struck that this revelation could be the weapon to defeat the threat. Come rain or shine, through days and nights, Dr. Jacqueline Turner held the fort in her quest. Her tent transformed into an improvised lab, brimming with specimens and bustling with activity. With every piece of investigated data, every scrutinized drawing, and every repeat examination, the puzzle seemed to grow ever more complex. Late one evening, a revelation emerged. Oddities in the insect's DNA sequences did not align with any known species. "This is not normal," Dr. Turner tentatively shared her hypothesis with trusted colleagues. "What if these creatures weren't a product of nature, but a result of human manipulation?" The atmosphere tensed as the import of her words sunk in. Encouraged by an inner conviction, Ethan made his way toward the looming figure of the forsaken house once more. The haunting sounds of the ancient structure reverberated ominously, yet he proceeded. As he ventured inside, recollections of his initial encounter rushed back, but his resolution drowned out any residual fear. The first level presented familiar scenes, but when Ethan's torchlight penetrated the gloom, a concealed hatch caught his attention. After some strenuous work, he was able to open it, revealing a secret cellar. An old leather-bound diary grabbed Ethan's focus among the discarded furniture and paper debris. Its aged pages carried the name Dr. Wright. As he flipped through, he discerned that it wasn't just an ordinary diary, but one filled with drawings, annotations, and arcane mentions of the insects. Holding it tightly, he was seized by an eagerness to present this finding to Dr. Turner, hoping it held the solutions they were looking for. Upon examination of the diary, Dr. Turner noted the antiquity of the entries. Immersing herself in the content, Dr. Turner's eyes widened in surprise. Among Dr. Wright's meticulous records was a critical uncovering. The insects weren't naturally occurring species, but genetically altered beings. As she continued reading, it became evident that Dr. Wright wasn't just any doctor. He was an innovator, albeit a mistaken one, fascinated with developing the ideal insect species. Dr. Turner found a possible antidote hidden among the labyrinth of formulas and diagrams. Dr. Wright had indicated a specific chemical compound, potentially the weak spot for these insects. This material could either repel them or serve as a lethal toxin, providing a spark of hope against their formidable adversary. With a renewed sense of mission, the town's residents united as never before. Discussions were scheduled, responsibilities were allotted, and a joint initiative began. "We have a strategy," Dr. Turner announced at the city center, kindling hope and resolve in every soul. Their consolidated fight against the insects was aligning. The town's provisional labs buzzed with productivity. Scientists, chemists, and even pupils under Dr. Turner's oversight worked tirelessly to synthesize the chemical compound. The aroma of the compound permeated the air, a hopeful fragrance signifying the possible end of their tribulations. The community's efforts were successful. With every day, fewer insects were seen, and the city's mood elevated with every fleeting hour.